Hey, good morning, guys. Listen, I've been trying to get something up. It takes so many hours now for any of my videos to get up that I want them to sound better before I just let them out. Now, when I've been playing them back and I start hearing a little bit of too much him and haw, and it's because I'm having to read with glasses I can't see out of. Not real. I mean, they're kind of they're kind of like emergency glasses. But all of this work that I did, I don't want it to go to waste. But I feel like I've done it 3 times now, so I kind of know it's hard. But what I wanted to do is I just wanted to take you on a trip with those numbers. The idea that, I could pick out a 1, 2, 3 somewhere. And I decided to do it with a 10, 11, and a 12 in the book of Revelations. All right? There's some interesting stuff going on there. And so what you would know is that 10 would represent 1, 10, 11, and 12 is 1, 2, and 3. And so that would possibly, off the top of our heads, we know that 1's probably going to be talking about some kind of thing to do with God, something. And 2 is going to be his creation that he has got going on. And 3 is going to be the combination of those two things, all right? Coming together. And of course the second part is actually about a duality mix, all right, because we are this God and we represent the 2 parts of him or it, this energy of the 3 energies actually, all right, because we're always being left out at this particular part of the stage. But how it works out is that there's a writer of this story. His name's Paul, and he takes credit for it, but it's really about 2,000 years older than he is. It comes from an old cult. I wouldn't know if it was a cult. It was a Jesus-like figure of the Persian Empire, who they wrapped themselves in and out of all these stories, as if perhaps that's probably where they all came from. But anyways, his name was Zoroaster, and he's the one who penned this. It's part of his books. It's part of his writings, the Zoroasterism. Anyways, you can say it doesn't matter. They have the same. It's got the same coding in it, and it doesn't matter. So instead of Paul being the guy sitting there having all these hallucinating dreams that he's told to write down and stuff like that, for mankind. He would be like Enoch, watching. Oh, I saw from here, and I saw his face was this, and his head was that, and it was so, and la la la. It's the same thing. It's the end time stories, And of course, anytime an end time story comes up, we just have to look at them and read them and find out that it means this meditation is going to be running rampant in it. And of course, what we get right off the bat, when we open up chapter 10, if you want to go ahead and do it, you can do. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to take this business and I'm just going to do this to it and see if I can't wing it, So what happens is he is shown a vision of an angel, this giant, I guess, huge angel, and he's got a rainbow on his forehead, and his face is white like the sun. And his 2 feet are like columns of fire. And he's got one in the water, and he's got one on land. And looks up into the sky and roars like a lion. He also has a little book in his hand. So when he roars up into the heavens, this lets loose 7 little thunders. I would think that it sounded to me when I heard him, it sounded like it was like a little thunders. These 7 little whoop make a little noise. John got ready to write it down. He heard another voice from heaven saying, you capture those, seal up what those little things say, but I want you to, whatever the 7th one says, you let that ring loud. When that happens, all the mystery's over. And so he steps up, walks over to the angel and asks the angel if he can eat it, if he could have it. He says it's going to be bitter on your mouth, but it's going to be sweet and beautiful on your mouth, but it's going to be bitter on your tummy. So that's what he did. This was at the end, all right? This was all the story talking about this seven, all right? These seven little thunders. That's all it was about, all right? And that you also have the two. One is in the water and one is on the ocean, and the way on the land. So, this is the two sides of us, really, because water is going to be representing the spiritual side of us, water and air, whereas land and beast are going to represent the left side. So, enter in chapter 11. And in chapter 11, what you get in chapter 11 is you get this, John, the writer, is handed a reed as a rod, all right? As was a rod, and that he was given this, and the angel told him, let's measure heaven. He says, and I want you to measure just heaven now. I don't want you to measure what's without in the court. That's for the Gentiles. So right there we have the inside, which is where they're at right now, not on the outside. They're not going to measure. So what do they have to do? They got to measure the temple and all this business going on. So while he's in there, and while he is making his way up into the third ranges of this, or the fourth, he winds up, there's this idea that, he has been given the power to smite the earth. He has been given the power to do this over this, to make water into blood and stuff like that, and to make the earthquakes, and to smite the earth anytime he wants. So this is what he's made. He's made this creature that can do this, all right? As he is doing it, a darkness comes from the abyss. This is on the sixth one, around the sixth. He starts to, this is when they're gathering. This is the idea of the darkness falling upon the land. Remember when Jesus dies on the cross? It's dark after the sixth hour, so this is where we are in the story. So it's really about going down, and these dead, what happens is this darkness has come up to fight a great battle. And so the battle is over you. And we're looking at joining with this God on the third time. But in this particular situation, this darkness came in, and all these dead people were slain, and they were just laying around in the city that they called Egypt, which is Sodom. And it also mentions this is where our Christ Lord was sacrificed. And so, if I can show you that means the place of the skull. This is Golgotha. This is Egypt, from where I drew out my son. Do you understand? All of this is the same place, all right? So while these people are laying dead, they talk about, the people that live, the remnants, are all having a great old time, partying left and right. They're having this little banquet. They're sharing things with their neighbors and stuff like that. And just rejoicing. All of these dead carcasses laying all over the place. All right, that's what's weird. All right, but because they said don't bury them. They're just looking at them. So what happens is this little bit. After all of the banquet and after all this was over with and everything, then we got this something called down to heaven. All these people raised up on their own feet. These dead people came back alive in some way. But they're not, because it's just their spirit. The dead part of them, which they call their enemies, have been left behind. He says, hey, come up hither. So they all rose on their feet, and Lord called them up. All right. This idea is that that they're getting their fixings. All right. While this is going on, this darkness is being pushed aside. But that's the whole idea, is that this thing is being cleaned, is coming down. I almost have to have my next book, because I don't know what happens in here. This is we're in 11. God, you guys, all crap that I write about is just crazy. We are now in 11. Yeah, this on number 7 in number 11, chapter 11, the 7th verse. The beast comes to fight. All right. and the dead lay in the street and such, and since the dead bodies, la 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 la, don't put them in their graves, and la 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 la. The Spirit entered into them. They stood up on their feet, and with great fear fell upon those that watched them. It would be kind of spooky to see something like that. Of course, part of the city fell. There's a giant earthquake. 7,000 people died. The second woe was past. The third comes quickly. Here we are at number 6 again. This is number 15 in this one. It says, and the seventh angel sounded, and the kingdom, and the kingdom of this world, I'm putting that up. I hate reading. On that 7, what happens is God comes in and he claims this place as his. He says, this kingdom is now my kingdom. And this is the joining. This is the end of the chapter 2. All right. So it winds up being, you know which chapter I was talking about. It winds up being chapter 11. All right. But now he's in charge, and this is the way it is, and everyone's going to rejoice, and all those people in earth, they better woe, because they got that devil with them, like I told you, and he's mad and he's scorned. You know, he's like, damn, what the hell is going on? I'll take care of this later. And so, you know, what he does is, he's been cast down. He's cast off. He'll find later on that he is in that's third chakra of ours. That third chakra is the solar plexus. That's where, when we go under, it gets cast down. The devil side of us goes away. All right, enter in the chapter 13. Or is it chapter 12? No, chapter 12 now. That's the intervention, all three coming together. And of course, this opens up with, whoa, we find a woman here. We find a woman, she's bathed in sunshine, and she's sitting on the moon, or standing on the moon. This is a Virgo. She's looking at Virgo, and she's very pregnant, and she's getting ready to have a child. And so that's the first part. All right. When it comes down to the third, they said there would be another one. This joining of the three would wind up being like, and there was another interesting thing in heaven. It was the red dragon, and it stood before the woman, ready to give birth so as to eat its child. You know, and you'll find that the way this works is that everyone's trying to kill the one that's going to come in. She's going to give birth to a child that's going to rule over nations, and whoever was the current ruler doesn't want this. This happens with Devaki, with Krishna. This happens with Odin, you know, and his sister, in the way they just ready to devour the child as it's born. It happens to Jesus when he's born. There's this decree to go out to kill all the firstborn, and even in when God kills all those people in Egypt in the story with Moses, he's going after the firstborn. They're always going after the firstborn. That's the one that's always going to be the king, and that firstborn is you. That's going to be the one that's your brother. Moses has Aaron, you know. These people, it's always that the two of us, which is what he says. You have that 2 pillars and 2 candlesticks. You know, which one are you going to let go, right? So it's going on with this thing is that we finally get a name for this, you know. In the last one, it was just the darkness. It said this darkness came up, and everyone, you know, and there was this battle. You know, they didn't really call him anything, but in this one here, they called him this red serpent, and they call him the devil, and they call him Satan. They call him these things. This is this idea that he was ready there to eat her baby, and it didn't happen. It made it past him, and up into heaven it goes. Oh, you bitch, you know. And then all of a sudden, you know, there's another war that's breaking out, and there's this fighting going down left and right. And he is just so pissed off at her, just the woman who brought this upon him, you know. But again, you know, we just can't get rid of these people, can't get rid of this energy. This whole idea is that, you know, he has been put at bay, you know, he has been leashed. He said, he's got to do what his boss says for a while. And he's just really pissed off. But he and all of his critters and all his friends are all bound down into earth, which is, we have him inside of us. He's not outside. He's not outside the world of us, but he does manifest out there if we can't clean out our minds. And that's really what all these stories are about, is how to get in there, connect with the Lord, and that will at least push that devil off to the side and give him less control in your body. But he knows, just like everybody else, that we have to come down and live on this earth. And with that comes this, this other guy. And God says you can only serve one of us. You'll serve one and you'll despise the other. And of course that's how it works. I actually love supporting this other energy, and I hate working. I don't want to work anymore. So, I don't want to slave for the devil, Although some friends of mine called me up from my old church. They need me to come to fix candlesticks and do a little painting and trimming and fixing up, and I'm thinking about it. I don't know yet. Bring me into hell like that. So let's see if I got that right, that last one, because they kind of end very interestingly. With this one here, we get what we get when we end this last one. Number 17, and the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which kept the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. That was the end of that. That would be the end of all the stories. So what it would show is that he's not dead, but he's gone to whatever, he's going to pick on whatever's left of this bunch, that was left after the war. He's tucked his tail under, I'll go get more, I'll find, I know I will, because, that's just our nature and things like that. But good luck to him, because right now it's showing him that they're keeping the commandments, and they have that testimony of Jesus Christ. Testimony of Jesus means that if you come, find me. If you come, you'll find me. You want my help, come in, do as I said, that I'm there. That's the testimony, all right? So, that's how it goes. 17 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. So, I want to do a quick little idea here that I understood from by doing this in different time zones. Different time. Earlier, the idea of the four, the northeast, south, and west. It's coming clearer to me that the idea is that we're supposed to travel from the left. Our intellect, we're supposed to go through the emotions and then give up our bodies, and then we're over here on the east side. That's a clear shot. What they talk about from when this happens, this is the steady east wind, that's blowing, that parts the Red Sea, and our emotions, and opens up this other side. That's what it means by harmony and being even at that time. Because that's what you're doing, is you're getting even when you're going in to meditate. All right, that's what that means. I just want to say I love you guys, and that was pretty interesting. The 1, 2, 3 working with 10, 11, and 12. All right, and of course there's more to come. What the first beast that comes up in the next lessons that come in, the very next ones, when they introduce the worlds, the very first things is he sees that same monster getting up, but this time it has a name too. It's called blasphemous. It has blasphemy written all over it, but it's talking about the first beast that's raised up out of the water has 7 heads on it, which is our chakra system. It has 10 horns, which is, our skin, or our skin and duality, all right? Both of them flaring up. One of them has to be the governor of this next party. And it also, and upon each one of those heads was crowns. So this was a beast, and it had blasphemy. So another one's going to come up beside it, and I'm going to tell you later on that this idea is the spiritual side of us that has just as much to go with this here side and it's their combatant. So you'll see that 4 is going to be talking about the worlds and what's going to happen in those worlds. So best to you guys and happy hunting. All right, and not only hunting, get up there and do some activating, connect. All right, see you later.